Welcome to Vote for Your Life, a special town hall on theGrio.com. We want to welcome you, Grio family, from wherever you are tuning in from, all over the country, all over the world. My name is Natasha S. Alford, and I'm Vice President of Digital Content at theGrio. Today, we are honored to have this week's superstar panel of legends and leaders here to talk about using our power for good and for change in election 2020. First and foremost, founder and chairman and CEO of Allen Media Group, Entertainment Studios, owner of theGrio, my boss, Mr. Byron Allen. What's up, Byron? How are you?
Hey, good to see you, Natasha. Thank you.
Great to see you. We have the fierce and unapologetic award-winning White House correspondent, CNN political analyst, April Ryan. Hey, April.
Hello, who does not have COVID? I'm here.
Important to say that these days, because
it's very important because there are at least 3 journalists at the White House right now who have COVID, among the president, Chris Christie, Kellyanne, and so many more. Yes.
Woo, you are covered. You are covered. And
yes, and the bishop's gonna make sure I'm covered today.
Thank you. I was just gonna say, we have the one and only Bishop T.D. Jakes of the Potter's House in Dallas, Texas, who's been praying for the nation and all of us. Welcome, Bishop.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be joining you today.
Absolutely. And my big brother, I call him, Charlamagne the God. He's award-winning host of The Breakfast Club and a New York Times best-selling author. Don't sleep on him. What's up, Charlamagne?
Yeah. Natasha, what's up, Queen? How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. And last but not least, Grammy and Academy Award-winning rapper, actor, and activist, Common. Welcome, Common. Good to see you.
Natasha, thank you for having me, and blessings to everybody here, y'all.
Yes, blessings to this panel. So let's jump right in. Here on theGrio, we like to talk about the power of the Black vote. A lot of people want to paint Black people as powerless, but we want to talk about what our power actually looks like. So how do you want to see Black people exercise their power politically, both in this election and just in general? Where do you want to see us start to flex our muscles?
April, you want to take it?
Sure, Byron, and thanks again for having me on this week. Last week was amazing, and this week is going to be over the top. In this moment, and I think we have to be very cognizant of this moment, there's a lot out there, but I was reminded by the name Anthony Scaramucci this week. Anthony Scaramucci, former communications director at the White House, texted me early in the morning. I forgot the day. And he said, no matter what happens, we cannot be distracted because much of this is a distraction. The vote, the issue of the president's taxes, what the first lady said about Christmas, etc. Those things are still on the table, but let's talk about the vote. People are voting at this moment in the midst of a deadly pandemic. And we have said it for so many years that, every time we have an election, this is the most important election. Well, this one I say beats the vast majority of them over the last 30 years. The reason why is because there's so much on the table. We've talked about it over and over again, but now it is becoming so much more real for more people than before. We've seen the president of the United States who actually mismanaged this, who is now hospitalized for COVID, okay? We have seen people die from this, people in our families, people who have been sick, people who are not getting tested. The confirmed numbers of those who died, over 200,000. That's just the confirmed numbers. We know the numbers are larger than that. Now, that's one issue. Because of COVID, many of us have had our pocketbook affected. Many of us, even on this Zoom, have been touched by this. And when that happens, you have to figure out how to do the pivot, how to make it work. And then when you try to do the pivot, there's always an obstacle in the way. So our life is depending on it. It's pocketbook, it's health, it's mental, it's everywhere around us. It's our rent, it's our home ownership. Everything is impacted by this. Each vote counts. You're not voting for a person, you're voting for your personal issue. And I am of the mind, as a child growing up, my parents made voting an event. I don't care who you vote for. I need you to go vote because so many people die. We talk about good trouble, Congressman John Lewis, we talk about Dr. King. What they did was not myth or conjecture, it was real. They bridged the gap for us. And we are now, remember this, voting at a time when we do not have the full protections of the Voting Rights Act. It has been gutted. In 1965, they put in place, LBJ signed into law, the Voting Rights Act, something that would allow non-discrimination, supposedly, okay, in southern states. Now we're seeing voter suppression yet again. So we have to overcome that issue. We have to go to the polls. We have to get our ballots and vote early. We have to do what we have to do so we don't lose ground. Again, I'm not telling you who to vote for, but we have to remember this is our right. Like John Legend said last week, this is our right. And we have to use our power to make change. And I'm not saying, and I'm gonna go to something that people are talking about, just because you vote, it means like, oh, I'm voting for them and that's it. No. There's an accountability piece that goes along with it. Voting is one piece of the puzzle. After that, you have to make them do what you want them to do. LBJ told that of Dr. King, and look what Dr. King made them do. The Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, the Fair Housing Act. So this is not the end of it. The onus is now on you to protect yourself, because those in power right now are not thinking of us in the way they need to be. Byron?
You're right on point. I think, the one thing I really want us to know, especially Black America has got to really understand we are the most powerful vote on planet Earth. We are Black America. We are controlling this outcome. Why? Because the white vote is usually split 50-50. And therefore we, the Black vote, we are the deciding factor. We are the ones who decide who will win. When we show up, you can get a President Barack Hussein Obama. When we don't show up, you can lose a Hillary Clinton and get a Donald Trump. There's a reason why they work so hard and invest so much time, energy, and money to suppress our vote, to get rid of our vote, because they know we are the deciding vote. You, Black America, you're running things. You are running things. When you show up, you are making the decision. And they are, April touched on that, how they manipulated the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act of 1965. This go around, we have 1,000 less polls as Black people to go vote at. This go around, they have disqualified over 16 million people. Now, the one thing I really want Black America to understand innately, in Florida, we lost a shot at having the first Black governor in Florida, Andrew Gillum, by 0.5%. We lost, right? So Black America, lean in, not only vote, donate $5, $10, okay? We lost a shot at having the first Black female governor in America with Stacey Abrams in Georgia, okay? We lost by 1 point. Black America, lean in, donate $5, $10 and vote, okay? We lost Ben Jealous, as the former head of the NAACP, as governor of Maryland. He said to me the other day, by $10 million. You know what $10 million is? That's 1 million Black people sending him $10. That's what 10 million is. We can't lose this opportunity. Where are we right now? We're on the precipice of having the first female vice president in America, and she will happen to be Black, Senator Kamala Harris. We're on the precipice of positioning her for success to become the first female president of the United States, and she happens to be Black. We're on the precipice of absolute greatness, and we can't just focus on Biden and Harris. We have to focus up and down the ticket. So by way of example, we have this brother, Lindsey Graham. We got this brother, Jamie Harrison, who could take out Lindsey Graham. This brother, Jamie Harrison, is close. Black America, I need 10 million of you to send him $10. I'm just gonna be real. We need Jamie Harrison to get $10 from Black people who really are leaning in, because he can take out Lindsey Graham, okay? Lindsey Graham's on Fox News crying and begging for $5. We need to lean in on Amy McGrath. Amy McGrath, we need to send her $10 because she can take out Mitch McConnell. Now, don't forget what Mitch McConnell did to you. The list is too long. When Justice Scalia died, and Mitch McConnell had his knee on President Obama's neck, and wouldn't let President Obama fill a seat from a dead Supreme Court justice in February. It said you can't fill a seat in an election year. Then we lose Ruth Bader Ginsburg in September, and he says, the same Mitch McConnell, you can't fill that seat. We're going to fill that seat. We're going to fill that seat right now. That's Mitch McConnell. Amy McGrath, you got to send a message to Mitch McConnell, God don't like ugly. Meet Amy McGrath. And you need to do the same thing with Susan Collins. You can get rid of Susan Collins. We need to lean in on Sarah Gideon. Sarah Gideon, Mitch McConnell has got to go. So I like Sarah Gideon. I like Jamie Harrison. I like Amy McGrath, because the one thing I want to do is wake up and we have Biden Harris in the White House. We have Biden Harris in the White House, and we control the Senate. And now they can get some things done. That's how Black people win, when we play the game at that level.
And Charlamagne, you've been adamant about not just voting without any sort of agenda, right? It's not just about showing up, it's about having an agenda. Talk to me about, well, what your Black agenda is and how you want to see people lean in on that power and flex their influence.
Well, you know, I loved what April said and what Byron said, you know, and I think Black people do understand the power of their vote. And I love the fact that Black people are actually demanding something for their vote now. You know, every election is the most important election, like April said. Every election is life or death. They always throw that at us. And a lot of Black people have heard that before, and now they actually want something. And I love that. Like, there's nothing wrong with Black people asking why. Like, same way you shouldn't tell athletes to shut up and dribble, you shouldn't tell Black people to shut up and vote. You know, stop putting the burden on Black people to show up for Democrats and start putting the burden on Democrats to show up for Black voters. And that's what I've been seeing. That's what I've been hearing. And I'm glad that people are demanding things. Like, we know the things that we need, and we should be asking for something. You know, Black people should absolutely be asking for things. We absolutely should demand that there's a Black agenda. Like, votes are transactional. And if Black people are tired of voting out of just fear, good for them. Because I'm damn sure one of those people who's not voting out of fear. I'm voting because I want to put people in who give a damn about us and our issues and are willing to listen to what our issues are.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I wanted to jump in and say, I think we have to make the transition from protesting to policy. If we are really, really good at expressing our anger, but then once we get to the gate and we get everybody's attention, we really don't have a formalized agenda for policy change. Policy change is what we need. And it's not just going to come from the White House. It's going to come from the DAs. It's going to come from the judges. It's going to come, the lower on the ticket you get, the closer you get to your table. And we need to understand that we're not so fascinated. Yes, we need to be fascinated with the White House, but we're not so fascinated with the White House that we don't get down into the trenches, into the court systems, into the judges, into the district attorneys, into the prosecuting attorneys, finding out what their agendas are and voting according to what we really want to need, what we really want to see get done in order to be effective. I think that's really, really important. What are we going to do about qualified immunity? Who's going to stand on our side when it comes to dealing with police brutality? Who's going to be a voice of justice and righteousness that really gets what we're going through in the streets so that we can move forward? And we also need to be involved in getting in the census as well as to vote, because that's going to control the finances, the education, the community development, the opportunities that are necessary to go forward. Yes, every vote is important. Every time is important, but we have never had a vote in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of racial tensions as high as they are right now, in the middle of 200,000 people dead, predominantly Black and brown people disproportionately affected by a disease than we are right now. These circumstances are critical. Now you're talking about 30 to 50,000 airline employees about to be laid off. That's just the beginning of a decadence and a decay that we get hit first and we get hit hardest because we are service provided industry people primarily. So that's why we got hit by one of the reasons we got hit by the disease the hardest. It's also the reason why we are more apt to be, or we need to be more apt to be involved in every level of government and not just the top. We need to look at everything. We need to scrutinize everything. We need to be involved. And there is a certain cynicism that we're voting in the midst of right now that suggests it doesn't matter. My vote doesn't count. It does matter. Your vote does count. You do make a difference, and you need to be involved into it. That's one of the things I really, really care about. I maneuvered some things to be able to make our church one of the places that you could go to vote, because it's going to be hard to vote. There are not as many locations, as Byron well pointed out, to vote as it was before. Mail-in is going to be important, especially for people who are older or who are at risk to be out in public. We have to strategize our vote. It's not going to be like it was in my mother's day. It's not even going to be like it was 2 years ago. And we have to have a strategy and a plan and implement it in a way that we get our vote cast without getting ourselves killed.
You
trust mail-in ballots, Byron?
You say what?
You trust mail-in ballots?
Yeah, I do. I trust mail-in ballots. I don't think only Trump's out there saying he's not trusting mail-in ballots. I mean, you can walk it in, but I know
Trump is using mail-in ballots. Trump is using mail-in ballots. I think Charlamagne is right, though. Trump actually used a mail-in ballot a couple of weeks ago before he messed up the post office. But Charlamagne is absolutely right. I believe early voting, but you have to make sure you put it in that ballot box from the Board of Election Supervisors, not necessarily trusting the mail. Right, Charlamagne? Is that where you were going?
Yeah, because I was watching this story the other day in Florida where this woman, she was trying to get a $1,000 lottery ticket, and that got lost in the mail in Florida, just gone randomly. So I'm like, imagine what they're going to be doing around November when you have all of these mail-in ballots coming in from certain districts that they know are high Black and brown populations. I could see them just going in the trash immediately.
Common, what do you think about voter suppression? And just like, that's another thing that a lot of people have been up at night just thinking about that, concerned about it.
Well, I think it's the obvious reason that if they trying to suppress us for something, then you know it's important, right? And for us as Black people to be like, man, I've been doing this for years and going through this. I was one of them people, to be honest. I didn't feel like the political, when I was, at a certain point in my life, I was like, man, this politics don't even relate to me. But then I realized how much policy was affecting me without even me knowing. And then I look at, okay, when we see Black people being killed by police officers, why are these officers not being prosecuted? It's our fault, because we let that district attorney, state's attorney, we the ones that didn't vote. And I've been one of those people that vote in Chicago and Illinois and don't know all the judges and don't know, and it does seem difficult for us, but the truth is, man, we got to educate ourselves on this. I feel our responsibility now, us on this panel and everybody watching this Black America, we need to know who is there. I know about Jamie Harrison because of Charlamagne, and he was like, yo, you better check this dude. We got to communicate like that, like check this dude out, check that person for yourself. The state's attorney, Kim Foxx, who in Chicago, I sat down with her before I started supporting her, but I sat down and talked with her and found out what she was. She's making decisions on young Black people going to jail, but she's from Cabrini Green on the south side, down to west side of Chicago. She not just go throw us away. So the thought that it's not people that are us, that really represent us. I've been to Minnesota, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, you got so many people that are now going to be running that truly represent what you think about and what you want to see happen. And we just got to know who it is. That's why, as Bishop Jake said, you said, Byron, and I know Charlamagne, we all about this down the ticket too. Like at the end of the day, it's going to be incredible to see. We definitely got to get, from the federal level, get Trump out of there and get somebody in that's going to matter, that's going to at least consider who we are. And everybody's not perfect that's going to be in there. Look, we talking about human beings. So nobody's going to be perfect. But at the end of the day, some work can get done if we get the right people in the federal and in the White House. And then we get the Senate together. So now, because I didn't know, one of those things I didn't know either was like, when people was like, Barack ain't doing what he was supposed to do. Barack did what he could. He had resistance coming from the House and the Senate.
Absolutely.
We don't, to be honest, a lot of our people just don't know that. Like, we don't know it. And the education, I think, is one of the key components to activating us to be like, oh man, okay, I see, like, you got to connect the dots. That's it.
Can I jump in on what Common said? Because Common hit a very crucial point. And I'm thinking about a couple of things. He said, you have to connect the dots. And what's unfortunate is the onus is on us. Common, think about this. I think your mother's a teacher or something. How many of us have children or nieces and nephews who have civics classes now? They don't even teach civics in some places. So they don't understand looking at president, looking at governor, looking at county commissioner, looking at register of wills. They just think it's the big headline and that's it. And going back to the issue of who we don't know, all of us on this panel, we can talk to people. We can reach out and talk directly to the candidate. But for the average everyday person, the onus is on them and for us. We all have to reach out to their offices and find out what they're about. Go do a Google search, go on their website and find out the issues. The onus is on us. And I think about a conversation that I had with former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton just a couple of weeks ago on my IG Live. She was talking about going down ballot. And she talked about something several years ago, well, many years ago, over 20 years ago, when Nelson Mandela was on the ballot, how they made Africans, aware in South Africa of who was on the ballot. They put their picture next to their name. And the unfortunate thing we see now in a lot of these elections, the names are kind of smushed together, and there's always kind of a misunderstanding of late, since the 2016 elections, we've been hearing about irregularities on the ballots themselves. So the onus now is on us. We need to know the faces. We need to know who's on the ballot. And once again, I encourage everyone who's listening, who's watching, and I want you, everyone who's watching, make someone retweet this and say, join in. And I want you to tell people to go and look and see what's on the ballot. And how you find that out is reach out to your Board of Election Supervisors in your community. Go on their website, find out, 1, if you're registered, 2, who's on the ballot, 2, get your ballot, 3, who's on the ballot. But the Board of Election Supervisors in your community will have this information. The onus is on you to find out what's going on. Your life depends on this. Your life is at stake right now, November 3rd, and voting right now as well.
Yeah. Charlamagne, I want to ask you a question. I always have to tackle this. The people who are unhappy with the Biden-Harris ticket, right? Because they're out there and they're in our comments every day and they're like, I'm not inspired by them. And you have been, not afraid to kind of address some of the criticisms as well in your interviews, particularly with Vice President Biden. What do you say to them if they say, I'm not moved? Why do I have to choose between two, tickets that I'm not inspired by?
I would tell them that I understand them and I hear them, and I'm not going to lie to them and act like I'm sitting here voting for individuals, because I'm not. Even though I do like Senator Kamala Harris, and her record as a prosecutor is more progressive than people give her credit for, I'm voting for my interests, and I'm voting to keep American democracy together. I know that might sound crazy, because American democracy has never been truly fair or just for Black people. But if we let this current administration continue to do what they're doing, we're not going to stand a chance, and it is hard to look at Biden and say that's the catalyst for change, but I believe it's a pathway to change, and as Common said earlier, I'm voting for Senate seats. I'm voting for, an administration that I think will bring some balance to the federal courts. That's what I tell people. So to answer your question, I'm not voting for individuals. I'm voting for my interests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's so important, because a lot of people, we keep hearing, man, I don't like this person or these politicians. Man, like, hold these politicians accountable. I know April said, like, everybody can't sit in front of these politicians, but you do have people that represent you, and you do have the ability to see what these politicians are about in your own communities, and some of the things that Biden, look, point blank, Biden ain't perfect, and neither am I. The point is, like, as Charlamagne said, it's a pathway. We gotta take the steps, and we could be setting up for the first Black woman president at some point. But regardless, just having a better energy in the White House. I remember before, when I was like, man, I don't even know all of certain Obama's politics. I just knew it was a better energy. I had to vote for Obama, but some of it was just like, leadership also is created by the energy you give people, and it's like a father in a house. It's like Bishop Jakes is a great leader. Not only is he a great speaker and he's speaking the word, but his energy it brings people together. The leadership, you're not gonna agree with every politician's like politics. I don't agree with everything my mother says to me, like, you know, but ultimately I make decisions, but you know, as a leader, because I see a better leader in place, a better leader. And ultimately these two tickets, the better leader is Biden and Kamala and Senator Harris. And my thing is, I'm not one of them dudes going to say and just vote. I'm actually gonna be like, look, vote for these people. I want you to vote for these people. That's what I'm on it like that, because we ain't got no choice. When it comes to Jamie Harrison or the brother, what's the brother in Georgia? The April, you probably know the brother in Georgia.
The Reverend?
Huh?
The Reverend, is he not a
Reverend? Yeah, the Reverend down there. Like,
Raphael Warnock.
Raphael Warnock. Like, I'm talking about like, yo, once I sit down with them people, I'm like, yo, I'm going out politicking for them, because we ain't got no choice but to, because if I just say go vote, man, people go, it makes it difficult to a certain degree. Sometimes then it's like, I want to spoon feed them. Charlamagne spoon feeds us, to be honest. Like, he breaks it down where I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. And we need that. We need that, because everybody ain't gonna go do their diligence. Yeah, we should say what you saying, April. Do your diligence and do it. But everybody ain't there yet.
And you're right. You have to meet people where they are. But as a journalist, let me be very clear. As a journalist, I'm not supposed to be biased. So I have to say,
all right.
Let me tell you something. One day, when the glory comes, let's just put it there. It will be ours. So the energy is there. But as a journalist, as a trained journalist, I have to be unbiased. But as someone in the Black community, trust and believe, I understand more than anyone, we are a community with the highest numbers of negatives in almost every category. We're still talking about our water ain't safe to drink. Our kids are still trying to get books in school, okay? We are just trying to make it every day. Trust and believe. When I say go vote and I say use critical thinking, I mean that, because our life depends on it. And we have to meet people where they are. And that's why I love Charlamagne. Charlamagne breaks it down for people who may not want to hear April Ryan, but we need to go to those who we trust, like a Charlamagne, because I can listen to Charlamagne, I can listen to Byron, I can go listen to Don Lim, I can listen to everyone, but everyone is not like that. But we have to go to who suits our understanding, our cause, or what have you. And I believe the onus is on us. We have to find those that we trust. And that's why we sit in these lofty perches. We have to be able to disseminate the information to protect us, because it's not about us. It's about we, the people, our people.
Yeah, I wanted to have these conversations because I read a book this summer called Dark Money, written by Jane Mayer. And it's called Dark Money. And it's a phenomenal book, and every American should read it. And every Black American should read it 2 or 3 times and understand it innately. And basically the book is about how very wealthy white people in this country, billionaires, pool their money together to make sure certain elected officials are in place to achieve their agenda, which quite often totally obliviates us. And it puts judges in places who obliviate us. And I realized that this force is much bigger and far more sophisticated than I had ever imagined. And after reading Dark Money by Jane Mayer, I said, we have to bring this to the attention of every American, especially Black Americans, who are really on the wrong end of this. And it's important not only to vote, I'm beyond voting. Too many people have died for our right to vote. I'm beyond voting. That's like, you need to vote like you need to breathe. We shouldn't even be having that conversation, especially young Black men. And I'm really speaking to you, young Black men who think you're completely disenfranchised and it doesn't matter. You're wrong. And I have plenty of things I can do, but I'm sitting here telling you, here's what you need to do to not only survive, but to succeed. You must be a part of the political process, whether you like it or not. Because if you're not a part of the political process, it doesn't matter how much marching you do. And to Bishop Jake's point, it doesn't matter if you have all the anger in the world. It only matters what you do. And I'm here with all of these amazing people to share with you, here's how you succeed. And you have got to not only vote, you have to go and say, look, I'm gonna give up $5. I'm gonna give up $10 because we are literally losing by 5, 10, 15, 20 million bucks per candidate. And that's unacceptable. So I'm beyond voting. I'm into Black America, lean in and show the world how powerful you are.
Bishop, there were so many people that saw the first debate and just felt the sense of shame for the country, that it represented the worst of us and not the best of us. What do you say to those who are concerned about the soul of America? Like on that spiritual level, is there really hope? Is there turning this thing around? What do you see from, a spiritual level?
I think that there is hope. I think that there definitely is hope, but I think that the soul of America is at stake right now. When Common started talking about leadership, I almost leaped out of my seat because what we're seeing is the death of leadership. And in order to get great leadership, you may have to vote across parties. You may have to get this one from this side and that one from that side. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I'm going to tell you what good leadership looks like. Good leadership has class. It has respect. It has order in its ranks. It gets things done. It minimizes drama. We have had so much drama every day. There has been so much drama that it's going to take years for us to work through this post-traumatic stress disorder. When you look at the deaths, when you look at the virus, when you look at the unrest, when you look at the political unrest, what happened on that stage that night was a picture of what's been happening in this country. For the last few years, we have been at each other's throat. And it just epitomized where our country is right now. And our enemies are listening. A lot of times when Black people start talking about voting, we always focus on domestic issues, but we need to also think about international issues because we have international enemies that will wipe out the whole domestic discussion. It won't be about police brutality. It won't be about anything else. They will take the whole thing away from us. And the enemy looks for an opening. And bad leadership leaves openings. It creates chaos, it leaves openings, it spreads confusion, and it appeals to the worst in humanity better than the best in humanity. But I believe that there are enough good people and great people who really care. You don't have to be perfect to be a good person, who really care about this country and care about our future and care about our children, that I think that they're going to speak in this election. They're going to rise up and they're going to really reflect the better part of ourselves. And I'm calling on our better angels to rise up and speak from every spectrum of life, black, white, red, brown, blue. I don't care what color you are. If you care about what I care about, if you care about having a safe place for your grandchildren, if you care about justice and liberty for everybody and not just for a few, if you care about opportunities that are preparing for the future, when I go into other parts of the world, I realize how far behind we are slipping. You know, when you go into places like Dubai and you see how far ahead they are with technology and innovation, America likes to tout that we're ahead. Listen, we are not ahead. In the educational system, we're number 25 across the world. We are not ahead. Economically, we're in debt up to our ears. We are not ahead. We couldn't even come up with our own ventilators. We are not ahead. When you look at the situation we're in right now, we are in a crisis. And it is the kind of crisis that all of us can feel every day. When you take the global crisis and then the national crisis, and then you add your own personal life crisis, there's going to be stress from this for years to come. Now add the people who are losing their jobs, the marriages that are imploding. As a pastor, I'm on ground level zero. We are the people who bury the dead. We are the people who get the calls in the middle of the night with people screaming. We are the people who are there in the cemeteries. We are there when people stop by on the way to the divorce court. Believe me, the trauma that's going on in this country right now, irrespective of race, is so dynamic. What we need is good leadership in every aspect. You might not agree with every policy and every issue and every decision, but I think we need to define what good leadership looks like, because some of us didn't see it in our home, some of us didn't see it in our school, and we don't know what good leadership looks like. So we pick people by silly stuff. We pick people because they look nice. We pick people because they sound nice. Look at how they lead, how they organize their people. Are you getting mixed messages from the leadership rank, from inside the leadership rank? Are you getting 4 or 5 different messages, don't know what to think? That's a sign you got bad leadership. And we need to change that.
Can I expound on what the bishop said, Natasha? First of all, I love Bishop T.D. Jakes. He knows that I watch Bishop every Sunday morning. So he's a true leader to me. I love Bishop. But I agree with what you said, Natasha. That on that stage the other night, that was the worst of us. And I feel like the worst of us has always been old white males in positions of power. I truly believe that. Like, and I feel what the bishop is saying, I feel like it is the death of a leadership. And I think patriarchy in this country has limited our leadership. Like, we need to give some other races and genders an opportunity to lead. I also think that the two-party system is dead. We have let 2 sets of ideologies lead us for far too long in America. And America's way more diverse than that. So yes, I agree, it's bad leadership. And in this case, to me, it's old white male leadership that needs to die, because they designed this country, this system, and they weren't thinking of anybody on this call that looks like us. They weren't thinking of any people that look like us when they designed this system.
But my question is, and Bishop Jakes, you're absolutely right, and Charlamagne, I mean, this call, it's an amen corner call, I guess. It's a family call. Bishop Jakes, you're right. You know, when there is a breach, a tear in the fabric of this nation, the coming together, the unification of a nation, it leads to a national security issue. And that's real. And that's when other countries can find our weakness and come in. And that is real. We are in the midst of a crisis, and let's define the crisis, a national security crisis. That's real. And then on top of that, when you have the racial reckoning, communities fighting against each other, that's one piece of the national security crisis. 2, when you have a pandemic and the mismanagement, and now the president is sick, that's another piece of the national security crisis. And then you have people questioning the sacredness of the political system, our dynamic of voting. This is when another country can swoop in and do something unfathomable. So Bishop Jakes, you are always on the money. And going back to Charlamagne, I'm tired of saying, you know, leadership here, leadership there. When are we going to take ownership of what Shirley Chisholm says, the first Black woman to run for president in 1972? Charlamagne, and you know this, she said, if you don't have a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. I don't want to use the folding chair. I want to learn the game and own the game. I want to own the table and the chairs, put a couple leaves in the table so to bring other people there. So I'm tired of saying, you know, it's their game. When are we going to jump in to own the system? I'm just tired of hearing, you know, we gotta. We need to just say, here, I'm here. I want to learn how to play the game, because they've kept us out from the game. Now we are allowed to get in. Now it's time for us to own it.
Now I was gonna say, can we get in and play by their rules and still win?
Oh yeah. You get in, play by their rules, and then you go out and branch off and create the game yourself. There are so many. Byron Allen, right here on the thing.
All right. Byron.
Hello. That's what I'm saying. Tyler Perry. Hello. Yeah. I'm just talking media people. We got other people out here. Bishop Jakes is not just a pastor, but he is an entrepreneur. Common is not just a rapper. He is an entrepreneur. He is there. Each one of us individually, you have your own, you've got your own projects. So this is what I'm saying. We have to stop feeling like we have to go by everybody's system. Let's learn. Let's play their game and beat them at their game. That's what I'm saying. I'm tired of saying, oh, well, I'm tired of this. Let's lead, instead of saying I'm tired of them leading. Let's just start leading.
Yeah.
The opening is there.
And Common, where have you seen moving the ball forward? Because you have been helping the most disenfranchised folks who were parolees, you know, people who have been in jail, who they want to give up. They don't want them to go to the polls or feel like they can. What type of organizing have you done, and where have you seen some wins that you're like excited about?
Well, with the prison work that we've done, I did a lot of work in California with this organization called ARC and Imagine Justice. And, you know, we went there and just was building, sitting there listening to brothers and sisters talking just to see, because I'm the type of person, like, when I do some work, I don't think I can go into a community and just come with my ideas. I gotta really hear what the people need more than anything. So that was my first step, right? To go into the prisons and just build with women and men and hear where they were and hear what they needed. We eventually were able to go out and do concerts at all these prisons. Like we did over like 12 prisons in California. And we ended up doing a concert at the Capitol in Sacramento where J. Cole performed with us and Andrew Day performed with us. And we had we ended up having 30,000 people. Now, the next day we went and sat with legislators and it was a bill called SB 394, which was helping to get young men and women who were sentenced to life without parole. We basically wanted to stop that. If you were under 18 and you've been arrested for even a violent crime or whatever, you can't just be, because we met so many people who were serving life without parole, and it just was like, we want to change the situation. Juveniles, I mean, there's been studies showing that when you're 16, 18, your brain is not developed yet. We saw how much trauma a lot of people in prison and, who were committed eventually transferred into more crime. So we were like just basically trying to stop that situation. We sat down and met with legislators. Boom. It was people who wasn't on our side. Eventually just sitting down with them and inviting them to the prisons to see what was up and them sitting down talking to people who were incarcerated. That was the real game changer. Like, and eventually we got SB 394 and SB 395 passed. And it's no longer you can do life without parole if you're a juvenile in the state of California. And for me, we could talk about any awards or whatever, but that is definitely one of the things that I've been most proud of, where I can be like, man, I'm actually part of somebody's life being changed. Like, I can see it tangibly. And just to actually correlate that to some offset from Migos, we working on this thing called Urgency 2020, where we doing what we talking about. We're going and educating people about, who's running down the ticket. And he was telling me a story about how, he had got arrested and he didn't think he could vote. But when he found out he could vote, it was just like a game changer. And he said this to us and brought tears to our eyes. Really, he was like, man, out of any award I've got, he said that voter sticker was more important than any award I got. And it was just like, my thing was what we did, I hope that we continue to do, is our people that's usually the most looked at low, like people in prison are looked at as low, criminals. Oh, you committed this crime, you committed murder, and there's no forgiveness or rehabilitation or redemption or healing. We want to look at them and make sure that they coming out and being able to vote. Because as you said before, Byron, in Florida, if those brothers who have been released, who had come out of prison would have been able to vote, Andrew Gillum would have been in there. So we just working to get people their rights. I mean, Bishop Jakes know from the scripture, man, it's like, when you look out for those who are incarcerated, those who are poor, you're looking out for God, out for God's children. So that's the work we've been striving to do.
Yeah. With our last 10 minutes, I really just want you to talk directly to our audience. So if each of you could just offer your perspective on, we got 4 weeks. I mean, this thing is right around the corner. We are exactly a month away. What do you tell people to keep their eyes on the prize? Because Charlamagne, we were talking about October's the prize. There's always something to distract us. People are tired. They want to check out. They don't want to talk about the state of the world, or they do. How do we keep our eyes on the prize for the next month? So what is your wish to our GRIO family?
Man, it's a lot, right? My wish is that we continue to operate in our own Black gifts, because I read something yesterday and it was like, you don't have to be at the head of the table, because when you operate in your own gifts, wherever you sit or stand, the table will shift. And I think that's what we are now, because Black people are unapologetically showing up as themselves in all spaces. And, we're not trying to, go along just to get along or play the game, so to speak. Like, we're telling America, the way this system has been doing things is wrong, and we're not standing for it anymore. So just showing up as ourselves is shifting things. And I guess that's the most important thing for the next 30 days. Regardless of what distractions happen, we're going to have to show up on November 3rd, right? And I want people to realize too, like, even when we get Biden and Harris in the White House, America is not going back to whatever perceived normal we were used to. Like that's over. Like America is never going back to normal. The other side of America, for both sides, has been exposed forever. No rose-colored glasses like when President Obama was in the White House. We are never going backwards. Like the true realities of what America really is has been exposed. And that's why even if Biden and Harris get in the White House, and I don't want to say even if, when they get in the White House, we have to keep our foot on it, our foot on their neck, so to speak, and make sure they are in there working for us and the others in this country who really need it.
April, you want to go next?
Sure. I think we need to stop really being intimidated by the process. Going back to what Charlamagne and Common were saying, we have to find, if we don't know, don't be afraid, don't be embarrassed, reach out, because there's so much, once again, at stake. Everything that is about us is on this ballot. Politics is personal. It's about you. Everything. And if it's not today, it will be tomorrow, some kind of way. And I think, again, we need to find the people who we trust, who we believe reflects our value system or reflects who we are, our existence, and listen to them. And then take the onus and go to their platform and look at everything, every issue. And if you have to pick up the phone or Google them and email them, do it and get a response. Hold them accountable because they want your vote. But at the end of the day, as I said before, it's too precious to throw away. We have to vote. And I encourage everyone to vote early. What's taking normally 2 days to go through the mail takes 3 weeks or a month. Go call the Board of Election Supervisors in your community and make sure you're registered, and then get that ballot and then send it back in the ballot box. If you can walk away from using the Postal Service, please do. Right now, we're in the midst of voter suppression 2020. We have got to overcome. And I think about, again, and Common, you on here, all I keep thinking about is glory and how I jump over the moon over that. That's like our fight song. I mean, that is like a spiritual awakening for us. 1965, the Edmund Pettus Bridge, all of that, broken, bruised, and died for this right. And they're trying to do the same thing in a different way in 2020. Prove them wrong and go vote. Make your vote count.
Yes. Well,
Amen. Common?
yeah, well, I mean, what April said is like, to continue that, like, they've been doing this for a long time, but this is a time where we actually had a renewing and a rebirth going on right now. And all the trauma we've been through and like the mentality of, man, that the system ain't never did nothing for me. We see it right in front of us, what can be done. It's right there, it's right in front of us. Like, and it's people telling you that you trust, and you can hold us accountable. You got people like Charlamagne is a leader in the world. Bishop Jakes is a leader in the world. Byron, April, we leaders. Y'all hold us accountable. We sitting there telling you to vote. If these people don't show up for you, which we're gonna hold them accountable anyway. The people that we saying like go out and vote for, like we holding them accountable. And there's people out here that truly do represent you. Use your discernment too. Use your discernment, man. We all got the God in us to make the decisions. Man, just look at the people running. Do your diligence, man, because this is affecting our lives. It's like, as we talked about leadership, it's like, man, when you live in a house with good parents, you don't think about certain things because it's just going well. But you know, when you're in a house with destructive parents, it just causes a tension and a negativity and negative energy. And we've been having destruction for a long time, even when it was hitting. This is one opportunity where, as Charlamagne said, it ain't no going back. This is one opportunity where we actually have a chance to go forward like we never have before. So I just ask of each person to just be responsible for yourself, for your loved ones, for your community, and for the people. If you stand for the people in any way possible, the people, then you gotta vote and help hold everybody accountable.
Yes, I love it. I love it. You know, I've interviewed a lot of folks, and one of the interviews that sticks with me is an interview I did with the great athlete Carl Lewis, who won 9, gold medals. And I remember asking him, great track and field star. I said, do you ever, look back? Do you ever, when you start that race, do you ever, kind of get a glimpse of, look back and see how far ahead you are? And he said, no. He said, I focus on one thing. I focus on making sure that my body is doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And if my body is doing what it's supposed to do, then I know everybody is behind me. And I don't have to look back. And this voting and donating is just part of the process. And what I say to my people, what I say to Black America, you have to remember our unique relationship with America. We are the only people who were brought here to make white America wealthy. And when we were brought here, we were considered assets, and they measured their wealth by how many slaves they had, not how much land. And when we were their slaves, we were their assets. And the moment we were freed, we became, in their minds, a liability. And that's when they started murdering us and lynching us and burning us and blowing up our towns and incarcerating us, because it was less about the color of our skin and more about the money and the power. And they didn't want to share any of that economic power with us. There was no inclusion whatsoever. So this is part of the process of making sure we're running the perfect race and everybody's behind us. This is just one part of it, because Black America, let me be clear, you are positioned to fail. We have been positioned to fail since the day they brought us here over 400 years ago. I know for a fact we are positioned to fail. When people talk about my company, the thing that's amazing is that for the first 15, 20 years of my company, I couldn't get a bank loan. And I had to pay factors 27% interest to factor the best receivables in the world. And we are positioned to fail. So what do we have to do? We have to unlock that matrix. We have to not only vote, we have to donate, and we have to vote and donate up and down the ticket. And when we do get these politicians in power, so we can run the perfect race, we have to say, I need you to make sure that our kids are properly educated. My mother had me 17 days after her 17th birthday. What changed the trajectory of our lives? She got into UCLA film and TV, and she got a master's in cinema and television. That changed the game. Every American needs to have an opportunity to access the best education. Hey, politician, I need you to make sure that Black Americans are getting access to capital that's not predatory. Hey, politicians, I need you to make sure that the government is supporting us. And yes, we do need reparations. We have a $1 trillion government worker pension fund. Black people don't participate in any of it. I'm not participating in the political process just to see someone in. I'm participating in the political process to say, this is my agenda. And my agenda is to make Black America better and to position Black America to succeed and not fail. My agenda is to put politicians in place so I can help stop the genocide against Black America. And when we vote and when we donate, this is just one part of running the race, of making sure everybody's behind us. It's just part of the process. So we have to do it. And we have to do it now. We have to do it early. This is how we stop genocide, because you are living in genocide against Black America. And you do it by being a part of the process. And I'm really speaking to young Black men. You got to be a part of the process. And when we get them in power, we control the process. You can hold them accountable and say, if you want to stay there, you need to protect and support and position Black people for success. It's a simple concept. That's what has to happen.
Thank you, Byron. And the wise Bishop. Bishop, can you give us a final word as we go on with this month ahead? It's just a month. It's right around the corner.
I'm thinking about how odd it is, out of everybody on the panel, I'm the only one with gray hair.
I've got some too.
I got some right here, Bishop. I'm gonna let mine come in.
It's all gray.
I'm letting mine come in.
That's why I'm bald. I'm gonna be honest with you. Trust me. I look like Santa Claus. I got it.
Yeah, it is
I
on
definitely
right
got
now. I don't
You're
know.
not alone.
I don't know when it turned white. It turned white overnight. And yet, in spite of the whiteness of my hair, I want to talk to the young people. Everything is about you. It's all about you. You are the most important person in the room. Please hear me. What you kill in your youth, you eat in your senior years. If you don't get it now, it will not happen. Not the now of the moment that you're worried about, where you're blinging and you're showing off you're this and you're that and the other. You got to have a strategy that protects your later years. What we are talking about when we're talking about voting, it's going to affect you more than anybody to reimagine your world and recreate your world, because you're going to rest in what is being created right now. And because you can more safely get in to vote than we can or anybody else can, we are passing the baton to you. Do not drop this ball. Get out and vote. Your old person, your old man that's in you, that old woman that you will become later will thank you if you take action right now. And if you cut back just a little bit on being important right now, you can be great for a lifetime. But I appeal to you today to take this opportunity and seize it, because it is your children that are in school. Mine are grown. It is your children that'll be drinking that bad water. It is you, it is your building years, your developing years, your home ownership years. This is the time for you to wake out of your sleep. And now more than ever, you say, it's my turn, it's my turn. Here it is. Take it. Vote. Give, donate, even if it's $10, it's $15. You know why? Because they're going to look at who supported the campaign, and that's whose calls they're going to take first. They're not going to take your call because you're mad. They're going to take your call because you supported them. And I want to challenge you on your level to take this chance right now and stand up and create the world you want your children and your children's children to live in.
Amen.
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 Benediction now. Where
Amen.
is
And woman.
That's it right there. Family.
benediction?
Thank you so much, April. Thank you, Common. Thank you so much, Charlamagne. Thank you, Mr. Allen. Of course, thank you, and Bishop T.D. Jakes. Thank you so much. You could have been anywhere on this day, but you were with us, with our GRIO family. GRIO family, please hit share at the bottom of this video and make sure that the people in your family, in your community hear this important message. Register to vote, help people get out to vote, and show up before or on November 3rd. Remember the power that you have. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Y'all have a blessed